Join us at Pole Pole, where Dorcas Utkovich shows us a new perspective of what the African community is doing now.
Hello Australia, welcome to another fabulous episode of Oz African TV. I'm Dorcas Utkovich coming to you from Pole Pole in the heart of the world's most livable city. Today we're focusing on the biggest organ that forms 15% of our body weight. It's our skin. And to discuss this, I have some amazing guests in the tent, starting with Chiza Westcarr, who is an expert in clinical skincare, and she's here to help us debunk some skin myths. Sasha Sarago is also here to talk about Ascension Magazine, a very important platform for Indigenous and ethnic women of Australia. Also, we'll be learning a few makeup tricks with Lea Rajendran, who is the founder of Sundari Cosmetics. So be sure to stick around because today's show, it's a beauty. But first, let's find out what Chef Stolley is up to in the kitchen. Come, let's go. Hey, Chef Stolley.
Hi.
What are you making for us today?
Today I'm making Gato Pima. So Gato Pima is a beautiful Mauritian dish that my mother used to make me and my brothers. Translates to chili cakes and is a delightful street food for Mauritius that pleases both vegetarians and meat eaters alike.
Yum. Alrighty, while Chef Stolley just does a bit of that, I'm gonna head back to the tent to meet our next guest. My first guest is Chiza Westcarr, who is a global clinical education manager who's been in the industry for 16 years. She recently added nutrition to what she does. And so this woman right here is a wealth of knowledge. And I'm so happy that she's here today to help us debunk some skincare myths. Welcome, Chiza.
Thank you, Docs. I'm really excited to be here.
Me too. So you know how the fairer skinned people, you can kind of see straight away the moles and all that sort of stuff. I mean, we're lucky we don't get all that. But
No.
Does that mean we're safe?
Well, we're not safe. You can find people who are quite dark having skin cancer. It is much rarer, but it does happen. One thing we know we can do when someone comes in complaining about pigment is to put them on a program that will lift the existing pigment. What sunscreen does is prevent new pigment from occurring.
Right. And so with the whole, pigmentation and how to look after your skin and that, I read somewhere and there were different views about skin peeling for people of the darker complexion. What's your view on that?
Skin peels can be used on every skin colour, but obviously a darker skin would have to go in a bit more cautiously. Not every peel is safe to use on a darker skin because we then run the risk of causing hyperpigmentation from the peels.
Tell me about the hyperpigmentation condition.
Hyperpigmentation is actually quite a common skin condition. It refers to dark patches of colour that can be found anywhere on the body. The reason why it's so frustrating is that it is really hard to get rid of. What's interesting about hyperpigmentation is that it can actually affect any race of people and both sexes.
How can we deal with it? Are there ways to kind of manage that?
Absolutely. So we know that where people come into a clinic concerned about discoloration, in order to treat it, they really need to do one thing, and that's avoid the sun, which is impossible.
Yes.
So the next thing after that would be to wear sunscreen.
Right.
So hyperpigmentation can be as a result of UV exposure, but on a dark-skinned person, it can actually be the result of trauma.
And then it leads to other things like, other young women being frustrated and wanting to do skin bleaching and all that sort of stuff. And what's your view on that?
It's very controversial. It's quite interesting. The ingredient that is in the skin bleaching product is called hydroquinone. And it's an ingredient that has been banned throughout Asia, banned in South Africa. So there are quite a few countries where it's been banned because of the dangerous side effects that it has. There are ingredients that are available that will definitely lighten the existing pigment and prevent new pigment from forming. Rather than going down the route of skin bleaching, it's using products that are going to even out your complexion.
So the key word is to even out, don't you?
Absolutely. And I think regardless of skin colour, everybody is beautiful. I think the concern around using hydroquinone is that the patient or the client is concerned about maybe the unevenness, the patchiness.
Yeah.
There are ingredients that can be used to give the patient that nice even skin without the side effects that you get from hydroquinone.
Tell me, now that you're in nutrition as well, what is the role of nutrition in the general skincare?
Well, it has been said that we are what we eat, and there is a lot of evidence to back that up. We see a lot of clients or patients who come in with acne or sensitive skin conditions. We look at their diet, and things like processed food, refined carbohydrates, sugar, usually is a trigger for a lot of those skin conditions.
Awesome, we like to hear that.
Yes.
But then talking about food and our skin, the other myth, does drinking lots of water equal hydrating the skin?
That is a myth, unfortunately, and a lot of people think that. And so then, they're a bit concerned after having maybe drunken 2 litres of water, concerned why their skin is still dry.
Yeah.
You mentioned before that the skin was the largest organ of the body,
Yes.
which is correct. It's also the last place that your nutrients get to. So what we want to do with someone who has dry, dehydrated skin is to use ingredients that actually are placed on the skin, applied to the skin, because that is the direct contact, which is then going to give them the results that they're after.
And then sunscreen.
Yes.
The higher the SPF, the higher the protection?
The Cancer Council recommends that we use at least an SPF of 15. 15, 30, 50. You don't really have that much difference between them.
Yeah.
15 gives you a 94% protection. 30 gives you a 97. 50 gives you a 98%. There is no sunscreen on the market that gives you 100% protection.
Right.
So the idea is to apply any of those three and apply regularly.
Well, what before I let you go quickly, what are some of the misconceptions that you've come across, in your industry that people don't know about skin or think they know about skin?
Exfoliation is important. As we get older, our skin cells stop turning over as quickly as they did when we were younger. So we use ingredients like lactic acid, for example, to encourage exfoliation. Thinking that a supermarket product or a department store product is going to give you the youthful skin you're after, sadly, they don't tend to have enough activity in them to produce results. So we move into what we call cosmeceuticals. And cosmeceuticals are products that can change and correct skin conditions.
And where do we find that? Like if somebody has, they only have access to the supermarket and they really want to exfoliate, how do they go about it?
Well, I mean, they can buy exfoliating products from the supermarket.
Yeah.
But when we talk about our correctives, they want to go to a cosmetic physician's clinic, to skin clinics that are all about correcting the skin because, as we know, there are different types of skin clinics, but you really want to have go to a clinic that has cosmeceuticals, and they're easy to find. Google's a wonderful thing.
Oh yeah, Dr. Google.
Dr. Google, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for teaching us a thing or two. We'll look after our skin in the way that you've suggested. And now get your makeup face on because I'm joined by Kaya and Lea. Lea is the founder and director of Sundari Cosmetics, a line of cosmetics that cater for all skin tones. And she's going to show us some tricks of her trade.
Thank you very much for having me here. I'm looking forward today to actually show you some tips and tricks around contouring and highlighting. This seems to be the thing that most people want to know about, and it's actually really quite simple. What I'm going to start out with is our contouring kit, which has several dark tones. We've also got ones for light tones here too, but with Kaya, she's got a beautiful complexion. It's a beautiful caramel honey complexion. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a angled brush. I'm just going to squeeze it between my fingers and go for something that's roughly about 2 shades darker than her skin. So just dusting off a little bit of that. And if she actually has her cheekbone around here, we want to sort of put it just under the cheekbone and then literally in a motion like so. And what this does, Dorcas, is it actually helps make her cheeks pop. And that's
Right.
why people love the contouring, because it actually slims their face down. So we'll do this on both sides.
And just while you're doing that, can I ask you to tell us a little bit about Sundari's story? How
Yes.
did you come about that?
Well, I suppose many dark-skinned girls, find it very difficult to find foundation.
Yes.
And I just remember constantly actually mixing different foundations just to get the right colour. I had a friend one day turn around and said, "Oh, you should actually make your own." And then that's where that sort of all stemmed from. But the beauty with Sundari Cosmetics is it's mineral-based makeup. It's all Australian owned, sourced, and it has no nasties in it. It's vegan and cruelty-free.
That sounds really good.
What's even better is that we have tones for as dark as yourself
Yeah.
to people who are extremely fair as well, because they just have as much problem to find foundation as we do.
Yeah.
Now I'm just going to put some highlight in this area here. So, and this is just at the top of her cheekbone. I'm using a shade that's like a bronzer really for probably someone who's middle toned, but this is just going to give it still a little bit of warmth, but at the same time,
All right, I can see the difference already.
yeah.
And, with contouring, would you do that at any time? Like, would you wear that in a daytime makeup, or is it...
You can, yeah, definitely. The only time I wouldn't use contouring is if someone already has quite, sunken in cheeks. We don't want to emphasise that even
Right,
more.
because this is what we're doing. We're shaping
Yeah.
the face pretty much.
That's
yeah?
right.
Cool.
So here we've got a little bit of contour, we've got the highlight around here. So the other thing we want to do is probably make her eyes just pop a little bit. So this is what I will actually use one
Yes.
of these.
Which one do you need?
I might use the dark colour to start off with. I'll get you to hold that while
I'll
I'm
hold
doing
that.
it. So I'm using a square angled brush, and this is just to give it a little bit more of a sort of a natural sort of look. So close your eyes, and I'm just working on the top of the lid. So it's almost like an eyeliner, but not so rigid.
Yeah, not so severe. It's
That's
a little
it.
bit softer, I can see that.
Yep.
Right. And how easy is it to do this to yourself when you don't have your own Lee at home to,
Well, I think actually this is probably a little bit easier than an eyeliner for someone who's, a bit scared to use it, because of the fact that you've got a little bit more control. And if you make a mistake, it's really easy to rub off with a cotton wool bud. Whereas with an eyeliner, it's a little bit tougher. Now, if we open up the eyes, we can see already we're starting to define it. And we can do the same for underneath as well if we want.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing we can do is, if we want to even enhance it a little bit further, is just pop a little bit of,
Gold.
yep,
Sparkle girl.
yep, and we can just put that on top of the lid. And this is what we call the mobile lid, which is really anything that can move if
Right.
you put your finger on it. So we'll put that on this lid as well. And then to finish it off, we can just use a nice, beautiful nude lip. And I tend to use a lip brush or just a little bit on the end of your finger, just to give it a little bit more punch.
Now, where would you wear this? Would you wear this for day? Would you wear
I
this
would
to
say
work?
this is a day look, yeah. If you wanted to do a night look, this is where you'd probably do the black underneath the eyes, and then maybe
Right.
you'd want to do charcoal on the top to give it
Just
more
to
of
give
a...
it, yeah.
more
Pop
of
it out a bit
yeah,
more.
absolutely. You might want to contour and maybe do a blush on top of that as well and make it a little bit more emphasised.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for showing us a bit of that. Now, if you want to find out more about what Lee does, we'll put a link on our website. And while you're there, feel free to drop us a line on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram.
Let me just get it for you. Can't get it out of your mind. I'm not here to waste no time. Love you in a special way. On top of the game, I stay.
Hey, Chef Stolley. I see you've got all the ingredients mixed now. What's left to do?
Well, now we just want to let it set, and then
Yeah.
it's ready to fry for everyone to eat.
Not too long now. While he fries it all up, I'm going to head back to the tent to meet our next guest. Come with me. When I think about my next guest, 3 words come to mind: aspire, inspire, desire. These 3 words form the philosophy behind her brainchild, Ascension Magazine. I'm talking about Sasha Sarago, and she joins me now. Thank you so much for coming, Sasha.
Thank you for having me.
Finally, we get to have this conversation. Now, before we get into Ascension Magazine, I know that you're quite active when it comes to new media, exploring with new media and that. And so I wanted to ask you, what role does new media play when it comes to strengthening your culture as well as your creative identity?
It's very integral for me to have new media as the basis of strengthening my cultural identity. Being for such a long time not having a broad community, African American community here in Melbourne, I struggled. I would watch a lot of DVDs and read a lot of books, but new media has opened the door to the African diaspora. So for the brothers and sisters in the UK, the US, and even in the motherland, it's helped us have a conversation globally, but also to see daily life in the eyes of African people. For me, it keeps me up to date with the vernacular.
Yes.
I feel strengthened with that I can carry that on and speak a certain way because I have a community behind me. But also looking at the creative works of different people and being inspired by that, knowing that I'm not alone in my identity, being from a diverse background, I have a lot of diverse blood, and trying to articulate that to other people and feel strong in my statement that I identify as this woman.
And now, getting into Ascension Magazine, do you want to tell us what is Ascension Magazine?
Ascension Magazine is my baby, my passion,
Yes.
amongst all things. But it is Australia's first Indigenous and ethnic women's lifestyle magazine. So it's a first. It's a conversation between Indigenous and ethnic women for the very first time. They get the power and the platform to explore issues that are very dear to them, to pay homage to their community, but also ask the question, who am I? Where am I going?
Yeah. Yeah, that's very important, and I think what you're doing with it is really good because it's, we want to see ourselves. We want to be able to open up a glossy magazine and have a look at what the hairstyles that are trending and what makeup tips they've got out there. And so what you're doing with it, it's really, really amazing.
Thank you.
And for a long time, I know that you've been working as one woman soldier trying to get this baby out. And can you take us through the process of actually getting it together?
It started off with thinking about the women. Who am I representing? And making myself known to those women, going to community centres, having conversations, and just talking about what I'm trying to achieve. That was the first step. I love new media, and I really wanted to reach women from across the world, not only in Australia. So getting on to Twitter and stalking bloggers and vloggers and people who are at the head of their field was really important. I wanted to have a lot of influence. So I guess it was finding my tribe, which is really key, because you have to have like-minded, positive people that are going to help you through your journey, keep inspiring you. Because at times, if you're a one-woman army, you can feel so isolated, and it's so hard. So it was really important to connect with people who speak the same language. And then eventually, people who resonated with our vision came on board and lightened the load.
And the name, Ascension, as a word, is a very strong word, and it has many different meanings to many different people. How did you arrive at the name and thought it was a perfect name for, what you're trying to create?
It's really funny. There's a backstory behind it. I was just embarking on my spiritual journey, and I picked up this meditation flyer, and it had Ascension emblazoned on it. And I was like, oh, I like that word.
Yeah.
And I actually stood back and thought about what the word meant to me. And it stayed with me for such a long time. And when I started to think about what I wanted to call the magazine, I knew I wanted to be powerful. I wanted the women to reflect on where they're going, what excites them, and Ascension was perfect. It's a message to them to always elevate, to always go that one step better or one step higher in their life. So Ascension, it is.
Your first issue of the
Colour of
magazine,
Beauty.
The Colour of Beauty. Do you want to tell me about The Colour of Beauty?
The Colour of Beauty, it was really important because this was the first time that we actually had a platform for our women of colour here in Australia. And I guess the leading issue was defining what beauty was to them. We don't see ourselves in the mainstream. There are a lot of issues behind what we see, more of a Eurocentric beauty and the ramifications that it has on women of colour, from colorism to skin bleaching, just to name a couple of the issues. So I wanted to bring it back into their hands. And what's so beautiful about the colour of beauty is the fact that we have conversations about natural hair.
Yeah.
We talk about what colorism is in entertainment, and having women speak from their heart and know that that's actually beautiful.
And finally, can you talk about your transition into the role of director and producer of your new digital series titled Ascension Matters?
Because I was influenced by new media, I got the courage to come out and start to create my own narratives in digital media. I had this idea that I wanted to keep the conversation about diversity going. I was very inspired by my peers from all different walks of life, from being a writer, a spoken word poet, a designer, and I just decided, let's get 4 people that I love and admire and have a conversation about diversity.
You are doing amazing work. Congratulations on everything that you do and your contribution to the community. It's really necessary.
Thank you so much.
Produced and directed by Glen MacKay, See Me Now is a fashion film with a strong and very important message that says, beauty is about feeling comfortable in your skin.
When I was young, I told my family I want to be a model. Impossible, said my uncle. The dark you are, the ugly you're considered. Well, if he could see me now.
I was once in a beauty pageant where I was told I wasn't white enough to compete. Instead of using that as an excuse to hold me down, I used it as motivation to lift me up. I am who I am today because I did not let other people's judgment of skin color affect me. This is who I am Fijian, and I am proud.
Where I come from, there's a dark obsession with fair skin. And in the acting and modeling industry, I find that the directors and photographers give a shocking reassurance that in the end, my skin will look lighter. As if light skin is the benchmark of beauty.
I grew up in Bendigo, Victoria, the most Anglo-Saxon community in the whole of Australia. So there I was, this little black dot in a sea of white. I have many different faces in life, with work, family and friends, but I only have one skin. Coming from the oldest living culture in the world, I've learnt to embrace my heritage and embrace me.
I've never had a problem being comfortable in my skin. If someone else have a problem, well, that's their problem, not mine.
Gato Pima is all done and I am so ready to tuck in, but thank you so much for joining me today. I've learned so much about my biggest organ. I hope you did too. I'll see you next time. Love and light to you. What we got? Ooh,
Yes.
yum. Let's get in. Do we just dig in with our fingers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mmm. Feel good.
Feeling good today. It seems something got me on the high, babe. And as a matter of fact, I feel so fly.